Welcome back to another episode of Cappuccino Chat. This time, we're talking about two-factor authentication and is it a must for Office 365? All right, so two-factor authentication, I've talked about this a number of times. And the reason I'm bringing this back up, and I'm going to read this a little bit just so I get it right when I'm giving you this information, is there was recently an attack that happened via email, and it would have been 100% stopped if it was for people putting two-factor authentication out. But unfortunately, a lot of users still will not use two-factor authentication. Either they don't know about it, that it's easy enough to enable, or they don't want to because they don't want to be constantly entering the PIN code, which there are ways around that a little bit, depending upon your subscription level for Office 365. And there are ways to make it a little less annoying so that you're not constantly putting that in, right? So we work with our clients to go through their needs, and we make it so you do want to enable it. It does need to be enabled, and you don't want to throw your computer out the window and stuff every time you open up Outlook. It's not like it's going to prompt you every time you open up Outlook. But let's get into this. Let me read through this a little bit. So the latest is a multi-phase attack using phishing attack to first get access to the user's Office 365 accounts. So they're trying to get in by sending some type of email to get you to click on it. And in this instance, they started by stealing the user's credentials by convincing them to sign a DocuSigned email. So if you've ever got one of those e-sign documents from DocuSign, they send somebody an email looking like that. They get you to give up their credentials. Once they give up their credentials, they got you, right? So it was an attack on bleepingcomputer.com. You could go there to see it. If you're one of my newsletter providers, I have the link, and I'll put the link below in the video as well if you're watching this on YouTube. So it steals the user's credentials with the DocuSign email. After that, the article reports that the attack manifested only through accounts that were not two-factor enabled. In other words, they did not enable that two-factor authentication. So this attack only worked and was successful on those not enabling two-factor authentication. So the attacker also created rules that made it difficult to spot the account takeover, thus eluding IT departments. All right. So once that would happen, they'd download and install Outlook as the user and begin to send emails to other employees in the organization to external targets like contractors and suppliers. So basically, once they got control of your account, they would just install Outlook on their computer using your account, and they would then start sending to all of your contacts. That's why email is very popular, right? Once they get you to do it, they know that let's say 10 people, and then those 10 people know at least 10 people. So it just multiplies and goes on. So taking the time to attack and go after one person is a multiplier type of attack. That's why you continue to see it, and we will always see attacks like this. In the small business segment, and I'm considering small, medium business, anything under 100 for sure. Email is probably 100%, but it's at least 98% of the ways that attacks happen is a user gets an email, clicks on something, opens something, and then that's it. But it's starting with the email. So if we can stop the email attacks and stop the email from being used against our vendors, our clients, our customers, we're stopping this forward momentum that the attackers have on us, right? So we want to do that. So now is the time. So how can you protect your company from these types of attacks? Number one, get with your IT department or whoever's providing your IT stuff and get two-factor authentication enabled immediately on your email. It comes with every level of Office 365, but your capabilities are different depending upon your subscription level. So I don't want to get too technical and get too into it, but if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to us, but talk to your IT people or whoever's taking care of it for you now. If they're not capable of doing that or not able to do it, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll walk you through it. Train your users. I've spoken on this a number of times as well. Again, users, emails, way to come in, but if a user was trained to spot these fake emails, they would never click on it and it would never get there. We've also got a new product that we're releasing for an add-on to Office 365 right now to help eliminate those fake login and phishing attacks that try to make it look like it's your Office 365, looks like your bank, looks like, Azure AD, that kinds of stuff, and stop it from ever getting to the inbox, thus taking the need or the another layer out of that end user possibly clicking something they should know better not to do. You also want to monitor the dark web for any stolen passwords. So again, as these breaches happen, and these breaches do not mean that your business was breached. It could be, again, that somebody got one of your users to give up their password by a phishing attempt, or somebody else that you do business with was breached, a bigger company, a Staples, a Home Depot, a LinkedIn, a Dropbox. Users being users, we reuse passwords or a slight variation on a password. Doesn't take much for an attacker to guess the variations and guess your password. They use those passwords then to go back into stuff. So if you're not going to enforce one password per application, never reuse across the board, you got to really start training your users and monitor the dark web for those stolen credentials being out there. Because if I told you I had your bank password, after the panic stopped, the first thing you would do would be to log in and change your password. Well, if I had your bank password, but I never told you I had your bank password, you would never take any action. So that dark web monitoring really allows you to take that action and know something that you didn't know previously. And it is not expensive at all. And you want to enforce that good password policy. Again, like I said, the best way of doing it is, if one application equals one password and you never reuse, no variations, no nothing. If you can use a password manager, that will help create very unique, very weird passwords for you. It's a good idea, but be careful with that password manager. There was a breach not too long ago of one of those said password managers. So you want to make sure, again, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Now, if they go offline, again, what do you do and be able to get to your password manager? I've had that happen to me where their site was down for some reason. So therefore, with me not knowing what my passwords are because they're in the manager, I couldn't get to them because it was a cloud-based only, not a local application. So again, things to consider with the password manager, but those are some stuff to do. So again, to recap, enable 2FA and enforce it for all users. Train your users to spot the fake emails and stuff coming in and what to do and what not to do. You want to monitor the dark web for any stolen passwords. And then last, you want to have that good password policy. So that's how you can beat these types of attacks. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do this. A lot of it's training and just time to get it done. If you have any questions or concerns about implementing this, please feel free to reach out to us, 760-770-5200.